Hey, what's happening everyone? Cody Lefevre here coming to you with another training video update. This is the Build Back Better Back session. Say that 5 times fast. In this session, I'm doing just 3 exercises, and I'm showing you pretty much all the sets for the lat pull down and cable row, and then a rhomboid row, kind of seal row, I guess, sort of variation. I don't know exactly what to call it. Everyone's got a different name for their movements, whatever. This session is continuing my bodybuilding phase, focusing on the higher repetitions and trying to dial in the specific muscle groups with the movements that I'm doing. Now, usually with my training, in terms of my historical training, has all been about strength, moving maximal weight, and getting strong no matter the movement. And, you know, that's definitely been the case on everything, not just the power lifts. So one of my favorite movements have been weighted pull-ups. That's how I originally hurt my upper back, tearing my rhomboid and my trap on my right side. Re-injured that again last year. And it's been a much slower recovery process than I had expected. It sucked. 2021 is going smooth so far. I'm trying to be much smarter, not rush into things. That's where I did have some mistakes in 2020. And this bodybuilding phase, like I've mentioned in recent videos, much of it is to build the specific muscle groups, bring up my physique and aesthetics, but also at the same time, what I'm hoping is that with this bodybuilding phase, I can improve the condition and the ability of muscles that are giving me some trouble. And specifically with this session, this is my trap and my rhomboids, and I've also got some pec problem, and my hamstrings like to tighten up too. So I'm working on a number of different things with specific muscle groups, and I figure the best way to improve that is through a bodybuilding phase, because essentially you're targeting specific muscle groups for directed training, versus in a powerlifting paradigm, you are targeting specific movements just to get strong in that movement, a specified range of motion. So with this 2 focuses that I've got in this bodybuilding phase to improve specific muscle groups in terms of their capability, but also their aesthetics, I bring you to these movements here where I am trying to focus on building my back better. Just on the most superficial aspect is the aesthetics. I've never had a very impressive back. I've been strong before with deadlifting. I've deadlifted 635 pounds before. I've done 115 or 125 pounds for, I think, 3 repetitions on the weighted pull-up, and 4 repetitions for 115. I hurt myself with 115 going for a 5 rep max. I believe that was actual weight a few years back. But anyways, the back was strong, but not necessarily as strong or as nice looking as I would like it to be. So in this session here, things seem to have gone a little bit better, which I am stoked to report on. What I want to focus on right now, though, is how I can improve what I'm doing here. One, I'm getting a little bit too cheaty on this movement. This movement is just 50 pounds loaded on the lat pull down cable row contraption that I engineered and had a metal guy make up. It's awesome, low footprint design. I've got a band strapped up to the kettlebell behind it. You see it there. This is just 25 pounds straight weight with a band on there. I ended up breaking a mini band, so I just had to double up a regular length band. Made it a little bit harder at the top, but I am finding that using bands, especially on back exercises, really helps dial in that contraction. So with the lat pull down, I wasn't squeezing my shoulder blades nearly as good as I was here on the cable row. So what I think I'm going to do is flip this exercise order on a kind of movement like this, what I'm doing in this bodybuilding phase, which is now I'm closing in on decidedly bodybuilding phase for 2 months. And you know, it wasn't like I had a program set out from day one. These are the movements I'm going to do in this order, la da 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 da. I'm realizing more and more as I get into training that there needs to be some flexibility and room to adjust in one's training. And if you can achieve that, then you can achieve more sustainable training and the results add up. It's like compounding interest, right? So long as you don't get hurt. And this session here was enlightening to me because the footage showed that I wasn't pulling my shoulder blades back as good as I probably can and holding that contraction as tight as I probably can with the lat pull down. I did better with the cable row here that you're seeing. So maybe I'll flip the exercise order, and the next time I do this kind of session in probably just a couple of days now, and see if that flipped exercise order does help with the performance of the lat pull down. Again, I'm not going for maximal strength, I'm going for maximum effect on the desired muscle groups. So I've got decent lats, but my lower traps and my rhomboids and my rear delts have always been underwhelming. Honestly, I suffer from the traditional powerlifter physique of big traps, big pecs, and big quads, and everything else is just kind of like meh. So I'm working on fixing that up and having a more well-rounded physique, improving the size and the shape of these muscles that have been, led off to the wayside in the last decade, 12 years of my training. Never really committed hard to a bodybuilding style training for any significant period of time. So I'm thinking that this is just going to be the theme for 2021. We'll see what I look like and how I'm moving at the end of the year. I have this itch to do some more powerlifting. I do enjoy lifting heavy, so maybe I'll just keep the squat and the press as my lifts that I go heavy on from time to time, just to keep some strength and have that enjoyment factor in my training. Those two lifts treat me the best. They don't jack up my pec or my low back quite like the bench and the deadlift. So that's probably what I'll end up doing in terms of maintaining some respectable level of strength. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's ego or whatever. I do enjoy being a stronger individual and having some of that performance, or some might say functional fitness, to match with my physique. So I do have that appreciation. I'm still kind of latched on to that old self of wanting to be able to perform in an athletic sense, maybe less athletic because I'm really not that coordinated. You do not want to see me on a basketball court. I break my own ankles just even looking at a basketball court. I'm not that athletic. That's why I do powerlifting. Is it even a sport? Stay tuned and we'll find out. Anyways, this session here, as we round out this video, was a lot of sets on two movements that I find most effective for my back, and specifically the central upper part of my back being my lower traps, my rhomboids, and even a little bit more rear delts. I'm still experimenting here. It's totally fine to do in the gym. A lot of times people will get on a program and they'll stick to the plan, and it will be less effective for them because they're afraid or they don't know how to personalize it to their needs, their abilities, and their desires, their individual goals, right? So this is one of the biggest things I think I see with a lot of the programs that I put out, and I just want to wrap up here talking to these programs like Jacked and Tan, for example. I get a lot of questions on that program, and people just asking simple questions like, can I swap this exercise for that exercise? Absolutely, especially in the T3. You should be using the T3 to build and support your other lifts and identify where you can build out that T3 in the best possible way to support those lifts. So if your bench is weak at lockout, maybe you should focus on triceps more and heavily bias your T3 to being triceps focused. It doesn't have to be a balanced or optimized T3. And that's where in these training programs that I've put out, Rippler is another popular one. I just mentioned Jacked and Tan 2.0, UHF. All of these programs are made in such a way that there are levels of customization that you can apply to that to target specific needs that you have. So with my personal training here that you're seeing in this video, I am figuring out what movements work best for me to target the specific muscle groups that I know I need to work on. And I'm divorcing the need for strength improvement and instead favoring the need for effect on those desired muscle groups. Now, this last movement is a really good example of that, because this is like a rhomboid row is what I've been calling it. Some call it something else, or even like a kind of modified rear delt fly. What I am attempting to do here is just squeeze my shoulder blades together real tight at the top, and I'm leaning on the bench to take out any kind of lower back strain and just focus so much right between my shoulder blades, and feel it even less in my traps, because again, my traps are a little bit overdeveloped on the top side, but the lower trap does need some work. This seems to be doing a fairly good job. This is just 5 pounds, so super light, and identifying the middle of the road weight that you can use and get some decent reps in, the very light weight, which is here, and you can get a lot of reps in. This is just 5 pounds, and in the last set I went for 50 repetitions, and all the other sets prior were at 30 or 20 repetitions. I'm taking that cue from John Meadows. He's telling you to do some high reps, super high reps. So that's really what I'm aiming for on some of my T3s, and dialing in what kind of weight is too light or too heavy to achieve those sorts of reps and not get too cheaty. Like I was getting a little bit too much cheat on the lat pull down at the beginning of this video. So these T3 exercises are highly specific to my needs and my goals, and your training plan should do the same. Even if you pluck an off-the-shelf program like Jacked and Tan 2.0 from the weight room on Reddit or my blog, whatever, you get someone's spreadsheet, you should tailor that to your needs and abilities, so that way you can avoid any kind of injury and at the same time achieve your strength and physique goals. Thanks for watching the training video. All your likes, your shares, your comments on my channel, that's all very appreciated and helps with my channel a whole lot. Appreciate everyone's support buying merch at the Gain Shop. You can get that there, Trendweave, and help with your gains over at my Teespring store, linked in the description box below. Buy some of that merch because you'll look great in it, I promise. Stay tuned for the 2 years of training every day without a rest day. That video is in the pipe. I'm editing it now. Thanks for watching.